Ghost, happy Thanksgiving. I know you're Canadian and don't celebrate Thanksgiving, but happy Thanksgiving. How you doing today? Week 12.
Happy Thanksgiving to all of you guys. I know ours is strangely in October, so it's pretty much Derrick Henry season now, which is what I celebrate. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Nice. I figured you're going to Derrick Henry right off the bat. But yeah, awesome Thursday slate. Would have been way more awesome if Hunter Henry didn't get robbed of a second touchdown. I don't understand the NFL. That game was goofy the whole time, but it is what it is. Let's get into the Week 12 slate. Let's start off with, I don't know. I mean, I guess the theme of today is value running backs, and there's going to be a ton of them, a lot of chalk, some that are unowned. It's just a lot of different ways you can go with it. So let's start off with the first game. A game I liked a ton going into the week, kind of getting off it a little bit. I still will have a ton of Lamar Jackson, but Baltimore at Jacksonville, we got a 43.5 point total, a little low for some defenses you think are struggling. I know Baltimore's defense is significantly improved now that they got Roquan Smith, but weather looks decent here, not great, but there's much worse weather spots on this slate. So it should be a right around 15-mile-an-hour winds with a little chance of rain. But other than that, I don't think that's anything we should fear for. So going into this game, it looks like Lamar Jackson's going to be under 10% owned. No one's going to play Trevor Lawrence. I don't advise Trevor Lawrence either. I think this is a very condensed slate for me. But what are your thoughts on this game overall? I absolutely love Lamar Jackson, and I think Mark Andrews is by far the best tight end play on this slate.
Even with Kelsey out there? Wow, that kind of caught me off guard.
Yeah, I mean, the Rams are like a 30-point dog to KC today, so I'm not going to worry about Kelsey. I don't think they're going to have to use him too much. Probably going to see some Noah Gray in the third and fourth quarter there. So yeah, I'm not playing any KC. Maybe Pacheco, but I don't know. I have a feeling they're going to activate a third running back too, and even lay off him a little bit too. So yeah, that game's just gross. I'm out. If that game goes nuts in case he scores 40 and Mahomes and Kelsey are active, good for them. It won't be a good one for me.
That's it. But this Baltimore game is interesting, man. Like, you got to think that is this the week that Lamar Jackson goes nuts? And it's very possible. He's looked I don't even want to say mediocre, man. It's just mediocre compared to Lamar Jackson standards over the last couple of weeks. He's still out there doing his thing, but this is the week that they really need to get this offense going. And Mark Andrews back fully healthy definitely helps. That O-line is as healthy as it could be. I dig it. There's a lot of upside there. There's a lot of rushing upside, which is what I absolutely look for in my GBP quarterback. So he is 100% in my player pool. And my Lamar stacks, honestly, I'm not going crazy forcing a run back in this one. There's a lot of wide receivers in that 5 to 6.5K I really like. And I'm not forcing in a guy like Christian Kirk. I'm not forcing in any one of these Jacksonville playmakers. Right? I'm definitely out on ETN and any one of these other guys. So I'm pretty much just going Lamar Andrews, and that's it. You know, like I can see this being one of these classic Ravens first half stomps where they're up 24-3 at half, and it's Lamar to Andrews twice. And I'm definitely down for that.
Yeah, Jacksonville is dead last in defense DVOA against opposing tight ends, so this should be a fantastic spot for Mr. Mark Andrews. Like Ghost said, I'm not prioritizing a run back. It would be Christian Kirk, who mainly, like just my rules, play the best player on the other side if you are thinking of stacking this game. But I look at Lamar Jackson, pretty simple. He is the only running quarterback on this slate. I'm not expecting much from Kyler's legs, and we haven't seen much from Kyler's legs this year anyways. So pretty simple to see the clear upside a guy like Lamar Jackson has. I do believe Ronnie Stanley is out, though, so regarding their offensive line, he's one of their better tackles. But other than that, I believe the whole team is good to go. It looks like Demarcus Robinson's going to play. Don't think that matters to anybody. But again, Jacksonville's defense is not great, and Lamar Jackson is the only quarterback on the slate who could run for 60-plus yards. So, again, maybe it doesn't have him, maybe it does, but he's got the highest path of upside, in my opinion. No love for ETN for me. Evan Ingram, I don't hate there. If everybody's playing Hayden Hurst, and I do like Hayden Hurst, Evan Ingram's in a decent spot at 3,200 against his secondary for Baltimore on the inside there. But other than that, it's kind of just just gross on the Jacksonville side. If you're in season long, you're playing ETN without hesitation. The guy gets 20-something touches. Certainly could be a DFS play this week, but I am taking the path of the value running backs. It's just too much for me to ignore. Going over to Carolina, I believe this is a game that is clear on the weather report. It certainly is. I don't think anybody's going to be interested in much on this game, I would assume. Definitely not playing Russell Wilson. What are your thoughts on Lat Murray? Lat Murray is going to be closer to 20% owned right now. Projections are showing. I think it'll be less because I think he's kind of the odd man out. I think people are going to choose P. Ryan, Rachaad White, and who's the other guy? Oh, Jeff Wilson, of course. Yeah. So Jeff Wilson's my number one priority there. 100% playing him. We always play running backs against Houston. We're certainly playing Jeff Wilson without anybody taking time from him. We'll see maybe a little bit of Ahmed and Myles Gaskin, I guess, on passing down work. But other than that, that's Jeff Wilson's role. So he is a priority for me. Lat Murray's just like, he's Lat Murray. Well, there's nothing sexy there. Carolina's run defense isn't that bad. It's more so that Denver's offense is just terrible. So I'm kind of just out. But I understand if you need the savings. If you're playing GPP, I would probably make a rule that you're not playing 3 of those guys at all. Like play 2. If it's Rachaad White, if it's Jeff Wilson, that's fine. But I think if you add the third of Latavius Murray or Samaje Perine, you're playing a cash game in a GPP.
It's too much. It's too much.
I would make a rule if you're making 150 lineups that only a max of 2 of those guys could be in the lineup. There's so many other value running backs. There's like Pacheco. There's Antonio Gibson we like too. There's wide receivers in the mid 5K range. I know Jason, I think, unloaded his whole daughter's savings account or college fund on Josh Palmer over 58 receiving yards, which is funny as hell because on the radio, he and Sia were talking about like what they think. Like the line hadn't opened yet. So they're going back and forth, and they had really good guesses. I think 53 was Jason's guess, and Sia agreed with either 53 or 58. And it opened 58, and Jason's like, you know what? Still like it. Like he was talking about if it's 53, he's going to hammer it. If it's 58, he'll stay away. And then he talked himself into taking over 58. So I know Jason likes Josh Palmer a ton at that same price, right? So just a piece of advice: probably do not play all 3 guys that are going to be 30% owned in the same lineup in the GPP. If it's small field, go ahead, but that's more of a cash build. But sorry for the rant. I just hate this game in general. I have no interest in anybody in it. I guess honorable mention Latavius Murray. And both defenses are probably the best plays in this game.
Yeah, I have some Denver DST with Lat Murray combos in tournaments. It's pretty much a running back carousel of who's going to fall into the end zone, right? Like we know that Jeff Wilson's the clear top option in terms of the value backs there. I'm 100% in agreement with you. But then when it comes to Rachaad White, it comes to P. Ryan, I'm kind of wary on, but we'll get to that game in a little bit. But P. Ryan, Lat Murray, Rachaad White, there's another, like I'm just gonna throw him out there. Pacheco. We'll talk about that game in a little bit, but I rather play Pacheco over a lot of these guys. So it's just I covered pretty much as many of my bases as I can. So I have some Lat Murray, but I'm leveraging that with Denver DST at this point. My concern is just Denver's ability to move the football. That's the one thing that I get it. He's gonna be pretty much the only back there. Marlon Mack is apparently going to be able to get some work, but we know the way Marlon Mack is. It's Marlon Mack. It's been like that for what seems to be a decade now. So I don't know. He's likely the odd man out for me there, but at the same time, I saw how high you had him projected, and it's a great pivot off Rachaad White. That's the main thing that I'm doing, is that in a lot of builds that I found myself going to Jeff Wilson and Rachaad White, I was like, you know what? If everybody's going to Rachaad White, there's got to be one of these guys that's going to be the odd man out, and I have a strong feeling it's going to be Lat Murray. So the touchdown equity is going to be there. He's a good red zone back. He always has been. So I'm down with that. You're on mute, bro beans. Can anybody hear Stix, or is he on mute?
It's the bye weeks, man.
Man.
I was like,
bro, I'm pretty sure my AirPods just broke, or the man's on mute. But
humble brag, they're talking about the AirPods too. So Very, very classy, Ghost.
You even got the head tilt going to show them. So
my bad here. Latavius Murray does grade out as the third highest value on the running backs, but it's such a minimal difference between him and Antonio Gibson. I just like Antonio Gibson a little bit more. I think there's more touchdown equity there in a game environment that should have a little more points. It is going to be bad weather in Washington and Atlanta in that game, but I don't know. There's something about Latavius Murray that just rubs me the wrong way. So I'm going to be out on him. We will move on to the next game. Tampa Bay at Cleveland. No doubt, Rachaad White is the clear top value. I think on the whole damn slate, do we have a wide receiver over a 3.2 value? No. So Rachaad White is the most valuable player in terms of projections. It's the NFL. Anything could happen. The guy could get hurt, whatever. Knock on wood. I have so much Rachaad White. I'm just eating that chalk, and I'm okay with that. But what are your thoughts on this game overall? The weather does look rough, I think.
It's bad.
Yeah, like scattered showers and a lot of wind. So it is what it is. I mean, Godwin doesn't run deep routes. So if you want to play, I mean, Brady's price, I was so excited to see 5,800 when I saw the slate open up, and then the weather kind of came around and I got off Brady a bit. But I don't know, 5,800 for Brady. I don't recall him ever being that cheap in my DFS tenure. So that is something to note, but he's not playing great right now. It is what it is. That offensive line struggling. So I just look at it. I mean, Sia said it on a great summary of Rachaad White. He's pretty much Leonard Fournette tomorrow. Like, they don't use a ton of running backs. Again, his issue would be pass blocking. If he struggles there, like, we're going to see Giovanni Bernard. He was activated off IR. We're going to see a little bit of Keshawn Vaughn. I don't think we'll see a ton of Rachaad White in the passing down work, but if you're getting a guy that's going to get 15 plus touches at 5,100 on an offense that still is decently respectable to get a 23-point implied team total, I think you just take it. So that's where I'm at with Rachaad White. I don't really have a lot of other love for this game, but Nick Chubb at 7,800. Tampa Bay's run D is bad. Like, they're not plugging holes. I know Vita Vea has kind of been whatever this year and in and out of health. So I don't know. I'm not interested in Nick Chubb just because I think this game's going to be kind of gross, but I think he does get 22 plus carries with this weather. So a plus spot for him, certainly at 3% ownership. But I think if I had to pay up, we're both going to agree it's Derrick Henry today. So I don't know. Rachaad White's just a lot for me. Simple as that. Ghost, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not overthinking this one. There's certain times where, it's bad chalk. This is not one of those cases. Like, not only is he going to assume that Leonard Fournette role, but it's going to be like prime James White in New England. Like, it's just the red zone usage is going to be there. The checkdowns are going to be there. It's just the sheer floor that he has. It's impossible. Like, he can get 3 times his value just on volume alone, let alone the fact if he gets in the box. So for me, it's borderline a lock play in 150 lineups. Like, it's as close to a lock as it gets for me.
I think I'll just prioritize Wilson as like a lock in 150 lineups and then just put like my exposure to Rachaad White at like 50, 60%. I'm going to be 2x the field on him. Again, if he just goes for 15 points, that's still a hell of a day. It's over 3x. I'd like 3.5 to 4x for my skill guys, but Rachaad White can certainly get there. And like Sia said yesterday, like, would you play Leonard Fournette at 5,100? You probably would. Rachaad White should have a very similar role. The only downside is potentially losing passing down work that Fournette was never going to lose. But other than that, I'm just off this game too. You can't really play everybody, but you're getting great ownership on Mike Evans and Chris Godwin at really good prices and a decent matchup. I mean, Cleveland's secondary has sucked all year long, but it is what it is. I mean, their best cover corner is Denzel Ward, and he certainly cannot keep up with Mike Evans and the size that he has there. But again, the weather's probably just too much for me. The total in this game is so low. I'm going to trust Vegas a bit here and just play Rachaad White, give Nick Chubb a look if you could afford it. I mean, just paying up for any stud running back is going to be very different this week. So just know that, like, clear leverage off all these chalk running backs is playing up priced running backs that are getting 20 plus touches. So there you go. Moving on to the next game. Miami's a 2-touchdown favorite at home against Houston. My favorite player on the slate is Jeff Wilson. He's going to be the highest owned player on this slate for good reason. He's 5,900 on DraftKings. I believe FanDuel did a great job on his price at 7,700. So for the FanDuel players out there, is Jeff Wilson a lock no matter what the price is on FanDuel? Because there's guys there. I think James Conner is cheaper than him, like significantly. Antonio Gibson's like 1,400 less on DraftKings or on FanDuel than Jeff Wilson. What are your thoughts on Jeff Wilson on FanDuel? Because on DraftKings, I'm just saying it, I'm locking him in everywhere. I will get different elsewhere.
The main thing when I build FanDuel lineups is that I want every single one of my skill position players to be able to score a touchdown. And I don't know if there's any, like, Derrick Henry is just on his own in his own world for me post Thanksgiving. But like, other than Derrick Henry, I don't know if there's a player with a higher touchdown equity right now on the slate than Jeff Wilson. So like,
let you know what the model says for him. I believe it is the second highest touchdown equity.
Like, if
you
like
keep going, I'm going to do some research here.
Like, I obviously I'm not. That's like, you got to tell me what it says. But for me, it's just, I would think Derrick Henry is number one and Jeff Wilson's number two. Like, it's just the touchdown equity is so massive as a massive favorite in a game script that is just like, for me, the only reason why you wouldn't be like, there shouldn't even be a reason why you're not playing Jeff Wilson, but the only reason why is because you think Houston stays in this game. And say that out loud 3 times and try not to get nauseous. Like, I don't, even at 7,700, you look at the backs that are around him on FanDuel. ETN's more expensive. David Montgomery, that's gross. Like,
want to know the touchdown equity in the model so far?
Yeah, please.
Ratings. Number 1 is Jeff Wilson. Number 2 is Derrick Henry.
There you go. So he's even above the king.
Number 3 is, this was a little bit surprising, but it's a great spot, was Kenneth Walker. And number 4 was Nick Chubb. So Jeff Wilson leading the pack in implied touchdown equity in the 80 mile. So yeah, he's just a lock for me, no doubt.
Like, even at 77, I'm completely cool with playing him on FanDuel.
I think that's the main question. Obviously, everybody's going to love Wilson on DraftKings, on FanDuel, with that touchdown equity, certainly. What is the ownership crazy on FanDuel too? Like, are people just playing him because the opportunity, or is it more just the price on DraftKings?
It's not as high as on DK, but it's pretty high. Like, he's going to be a top 5 roster back over there too. So,
all right, looking at the model, the number 1 wide receiver value, I'm off him, and it's my model, so I probably should be on him, and it's one of my favorite players. I should be on him. Sia and Jason absolutely love the guy today. Nico Collins at 4,100. I mean, it is a perfect game script. Vegas is telling you, 9 times out of 10, Miami should be kicking their ass and forcing Houston into a big-time pass-heavy game script. The only issue here, I don't know if Xavier Howard's actually going to travel with Brandon Cooks. Xavier Howard was so good against Amari Cooper in that Cleveland game, and I was so damn high on Amari Cooper that it kind of scared me a little bit. I did go back and rewatch that game. Xavier looked awesome. Maybe this is a look away spot or a look ahead spot for Miami, and he doesn't really come super motivated to play because it's Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins. I'm sure he's like, I could just show up and probably lock them to 4 catches for 40 yards each. But at Nico Collins' price, 4 for 40, if he gets in an end zone, is a significant value. But I don't know. I just don't know what to expect with Kyle Allen. Like, he has no rapport with Nico Collins, to my knowledge.
That's a lot of checkdowns, man. Kyle Allen is the checkdown Charlie.
Yeah, and Nico Collins' routes are a lot longer, so maybe this is a Brandon Cooks and Chris Moore type of week, but that's gross. I don't know. There's something about, I love the chemistry that Nico and Davis Mills had the past couple weeks, and that's gone. So I don't know, but it's not like Nico is going to be super popular by any means, but he is the highest value, and Jason and Sia like him, so notable there. I would just rather go for $100 more to Treylon Burks on DraftKings at 4,200, or $300 more to a guy we'll talk about in a little bit later at no ownership at all. But Tua and Tyreek are the highest owned players for ownership projections right now in terms of QB wide receiver stacks. It's just, I don't know, man. I do not like playing quarterbacks that are that big of favorites, but if you look at player props, like, you should always look at every single model out there, and player props are certainly models from the smartest people in the world making these lines in Vegas and whatnot. Tua's got a passing prop of 283 yards, so they just assume that what Miami's going to do on offense is move the ball through the air, and Tyreek's obviously going to be a huge part of that. Jalen Waddle's got significant red zone equity as well, and way less ownership. Do you like any of these guys, the Tua, Tyreek, Jalen Waddle style? Because it is technically leverage off of Jeff Wilson, but it looks like the majority of the public is going to play that double stack of Tyreek and Jeff Wilson with Tua and just play the whole Miami onslaught there. But I don't know. I'm kind of off this game, and I know it certainly could kill me. So that's one of, like, my paths to failure this week is if Miami does score 30, 40 points and Tyreek and Waddle and Tua are very active, that's going to hurt me. But I kind of like where I'm at instead at a more competitive game in the afternoon.
Yeah, the only spot that I didn't play Jeff Wilson, I stacked Tua with Waddle and or Tyreek, ran it back with Nico. That's it. That was the rule that I had. It's like, I don't even know if it's a handful of lineups. It's very few lineups that I have in large field only that I didn't play Jeff Wilson. And Miami's going to put up points either way. So if I'm not playing Jeff Wilson, I need to stack the best players on offense that Miami has. And that's, I tried my best to even double stack with Tyreek and Waddle. And if that's the case, I need somebody to keep pace here. So I went with Nico, and that's it. But it's a Millie Maker type situation for me, where even the leverage off Jeff Wilson, like Tua's so chalky that it's not really leverage at that point. So
Nico Day, he can't even spell his name right. What's going on here? Show some respect.
It's not he's not Greek, Nico. It's Nico Collins. But yeah, look, it's very few lineups for me, but I do have some double stacks with Tua with Jeff Wilson just in case. But it's a Jeff Wilson day for me. I'm really not playing all that much.
Sounds like your rule today is just get a piece of a key Miami player no matter what, whether that's Wilson, Tyreek, Waddle, or Tua. That makes a ton of sense. Have the highest implied team total on the slate by a good margin, by like 4+ points than anybody else. So there you go. If you want to play Miami, Houston's defense is terrible. We just worry about the competitive nature of that game. Moving to New York, I believe this is the worst weather game all day. I think it's just heavy rain the whole game, and Justin Fields is not going to play. Trevor Siemian's the starting quarterback. I did love the Jets D. I just don't know how much the Bears are even going to pass. So, like, how many opportunities you get for turnovers? I think this game just ends like 7-3 or 10-3, something like that. I have no interest in anybody in this game. It still looks like Garrett Wilson is going to be one of the highest owned wide receivers on the slate at 4,300. Again, like we talked about, the leverage off of some of these just chalk players is pivots in the same price range. And I'll tell you my favorite guy in that price range. I do love Treylon Burks. It's not like he's not my favorite play in that price range, though. It is Matt Collins later in the afternoon in a higher total game and a more competitive atmosphere than I think Cincinnati and Tennessee will be. I do think Cincinnati and Tennessee will be competitive, but for fantasy aspects, I think Tennessee is going to sit on the ball as much as possible and just feed Derrick Henry. Treylon Burks is a fine play for cash, but we'll get to that game. But Garrett Wilson chalk in terrible weather with a new quarterback, I'm 200% out. I'm not even playing him in cash, but if you're looking at cash, you should probably play him. Brian, not saying it's Mac Hollins week. I'm saying it's Mac Hollins price. Like, he is a valuable punt that could get us 13 points, and Garrett Wilson could shit the bed potentially. But yeah, I'm out on 20% on Garrett Wilson. And the rest
I'm
of
not playing anyone from this game. I'm not playing
1,000% out. But people do have season long questions. So Monty Pierce or Devonta Smith, full PPR. Ooh, I think I'm going to go Pierce. I think I'm going to lock in the guy that's going to get 20 touches. And they feed Pierce and check down Charlie and Kyle Allen. I think Pierce maybe has a little bit of a higher pass catching floor this week than we're used to seeing. I think other than that, I would go Devonta Smith. And I think all three of these guys are viable for season long. Like, Monty's going to get 15+ touches, maybe more now that Justin Fields isn't taking carries. But I don't know. Jets are going to stack the box, and that game's going to be gross. So I would lean Pierce. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'll take Pierce by a very, very small margin over Devonta. David Montgomery is I'm always out on David Montgomery, no matter what.
Not last week. Should have been in last week.
I did play him last week because he forced me to. But
you're welcome.
It's Pierce by a very thin margin for me over Devonta.
Sweet. All right. That game sucks. We don't need to talk about it. Everybody knows that. They probably do not want Jets and Bears exposure. So moving to Tennessee, the total here is worrisome. It's like 42.5 or 43 points, depending on what book you're looking at. Joe Burrow is going to be 5%, just like it was last week, and he broke the slate a little bit late against Pittsburgh. I have no interest in Tannehill. It is a very good price. So this game, I believe the weather is clear, just potential light rain. Pretty much the whole East Coast is either going to have rain or light rain at some point during the game. Derrick Henry under 10% owned. Cincinnati's defense is not good. Like DVOA, they grade okay against the run, but it's Derrick Henry. I think this is a game where Derrick Henry has 25 touches. Like I said, my game script for that game is keeping Burrow off the field. And then Treylon Burks is probably one of the highest values on the model at receiver. Let me confirm. Keenan Allen is, and Ben Skowronek. Oh, gross. So, yeah, I guess Allen Robinson's out. So that's going to pump somebody up. But, yeah, That's kind of the only two people I'm interested in playing on the Tennessee side is Derrick Henry. I absolutely love him. My issue is I'm having a hard time affording him. But Traylon Burks is one of my cash game wide receivers. And then T. Higgins is a fantastic play this week, but he's going to be 20-something% owned. Tyler Boyd at 5%, I think, is a very viable pivot away from T. Higgins. But are you having any lineups with Joe Burrow? What are your thoughts on this game? Again, it's a low total that scares me, but it was a very low total against Pittsburgh, and that game went absolutely nuts last week. So totals are not everything. It is just something to keep an eye on.
It's my main stock. I love this game
Burrow?
so much. Yeah.
Do you run it back with both Derrick Henry and Burks, or just Henry?
Double
Both.
stack it on the way
Double
back.
stack.
Yeah. I'm single stacking Burrow. And
Are you playing Hayden Hurst at all or no?
A little bit, yeah. So I'm stacking this game any which way I can. So my main is going to be Burrow with Higgins, double stacking it on the way back. So I'm actually going single stack with my quarterback T. Higgins. T. Higgins is. Everyone knows how much I love T. Higgins every single week. But yeah, it's T for me in my single stacks, and then running back with Henry and Burks. Other way that I stacked this was T. Higgins is in every single one of my stacks, no matter what. So it's Burrow with Higgins and Boyd, Burrow, Higgins, Hurst, and those double stacks. I'm only running it back with Derrick Henry. I have some with Burks as well on double stack, but every single one of them, T. Higgins is in them. And at all times, Derrick Henry in those stacks. It's Derrick Henry week, 100% of the way.
I love it. I do love it. I'm having a hard time affording them, but I will try to. So you can't play Mark Andrews, though, if you're playing Derrick Henry, because Andrews is a priority play for me.
I know, and I knew you would be disappointed in me for that, but yeah, he's oftentimes the man.
It's not like that's a bad trade-off, though. You're not playing Mark Andrews because you're getting Derrick Henry. Like that's it's okay.
That's the route that I took. I don't want to say punting tight end, but that was the first spot that I was like, okay, this needs to go. And it worked out extremely well because I could still get pieces of a afternoon game that I absolutely love, and I know that you absolutely love as well, which is going to be my number 2 stack. And yeah, I'm pretty much just interchanging those two games. My main is going to be Joe Shiesty with T and the King, Derrick Henry. You can play Burks, you can play Hayden Hurst, you can play Boyd. I do like Tyler Boyd a ton in the slot in this matchup, a lot. It's the middle of the field is going to be where it's at. T. Higgins is just a freak of nature, so I'm playing T. Higgins everywhere in these stacks. But I absolutely love this game. The total doesn't concern me.
Is Hurst, King Henry, and Burks too much with Burrow? I'd say no, not at all. But add T. Higgins in there. Like if you're playing Burrow, you're playing his number 1 pass catcher. That is T. Higgins. Tennessee is a pass funnel defense. T. Higgins should have 10 plus targets this week. So play. Like Hurst is fine, but play T. Higgins in there too, or Tyler Boyd. Like you double stack and at least get a priority pass catcher for him. Hurst is more like a ancillary player that I think has good red zone equity in this matchup. But that's like if you're playing Burrow, you're playing T. Higgins, right?
Yes, it's a rule that I made that if Joe Burrow is my quarterback, the lineup absolutely has to have T. Higgins. There's no way around it for me. If I'm playing a 5% Burrow, I want him to. I want him to blow the slate wide open, and the only way he does that is with like no disrespect. I'm a big Tyler Boyd guy. Hayden Hurst is going to be good this week, and P. Ryan has a scat back. He does his role, he does his thing out there, and I'm not talking from a fantasy perspective. I'm just talking from a pure football perspective. He's a good football player. Like it's just no disrespect to any of those guys, but if Burrow is going wild, T. Higgins is getting 150 yards and 2 scores, so that's what I want.
Amen to that, brother. I like that. All right, so flex it between Pierce and Lat Murray. Still Pierce, right? Pierce over Lat Murray season long. Yeah. I'm playing Pierce, man. I'm not getting
I am. Yeah, in season long I am. But yeah.
Latavius Murray's like 41 years old. That's gross.
Yeah. He's on his next 17th team, it seems like. It's out of control, man.
The next monsoon game apparently is in Washington, Atlanta at Washington.
That's gross.
Yeah, that's bad. Both these teams play rather slow. I have no interest in Mariota or Heineke, but I did mention my love for a 10% or less owned Antonio Gibson. It's more of just getting off of Lat Murray and or Samaje Perine. Oh, we didn't talk about Perine for Cincinnati. That is a big miss on our end. What are your thoughts on Perine? So He's going to be 15 to 25% owned. I think he's fine in cash, but Travion Williams and Chris Evans are both active in this game, and Cincinnati just doesn't really give a 3-down roll to anybody. Even when Mixon was healthy, I know he did get a lot of pass catching work coming on late, but I don't know. Piron was a very ineffective runner last week, and it's just the touchdown. I guess the multiple touchdowns everybody's chasing. I mean, the dude's built like a brick shit house. He looks like a tank. It is insane. His arms are bigger than my legs. So good for you, Samaje Perine. I was always a believer of him coming out of, I think it was Oklahoma, right? And just never really panned out. I think one of my first articles at Win Daily like 5 years ago was about Samaje Perine being a sneaky season-long play. Never panned out, but now he's there. Like the talent was there. I got that part right. It just took a long time to marinate and mature. But I don't know. I don't like them activating all 3 running backs. Yeah, it's just gives me a weird taste in my mouth, and I don't play running backs against Tennessee anyways. So the price alone for Samaje Perine is probably the only reason that I would consider him, but I'm going to be out on Samaje Perine. 100%. Not playing him in cash. If you would play him, I would play him in cash. And if you're stacking this game, I understand it. It is fine. I'm just out on that. Like, I have to take a stand. I can't play all the 3 chalk running backs. That was one of my personal rules for this slate when we started this show. Samaje is the odd man out for me. I'd rather have Antonio Gibson in that next game we just talked about. Hurst. Hayden Hurst all day.
I'm taking Hurst. Yeah, I'm taking Hurst in that matchup. Yeah, I'm not playing Perine. It's simple as that. He's not going to catch 3 touchdowns again. If he does, I'll sleep like a baby tonight.
And low key.
That's what burns me. If I am playing a 5% Burrow and all these low roster players with Derrick Henry, that is like, I don't know a more intriguing way to get different this week. And if this game actually goes wild and it sails 10 to 14 points over the total, and it's because Samaje Perine, I don't win a ton of money because of Samaje Perine, I'll sleep like a baby tonight. So that's what it is. I'm not playing him in my stacks. I'm not playing him in cash. I have 0 Samaje Perine this week. 0.
It's Expos hat day. You're gonna win. Chargers 65. What do you think about Geno, Lockett, Walker running it back with Adams?
Weather's concerning in that game, no?
I don't think it's bad. No, it just says scattered showers possible. So I mean, Seattle, like a standard day in Seattle, and I think Pickett, our local Northwest guy in the chat, said that it should be fine. So I take his word for it. He lives there. But I think this is a fantastic lineup. I mean, Geno's going to be popular. We'll get to that game. Lockett's going to be probably rather low owned. When I look at Geno, though, like I want Metcalf in there. That'd be my only critique is like take the best wide receiver against this coverage too for Las Vegas. The 80 mile did give a good boost to DK Metcalf. It kind of kept Lockett closer to his floor projection. So the guy that I like to play guys that get a boost in the model based on the coverage scheme, and that was DK Metcalf. But yeah, absolutely, you could play Devontae Adams. He's probably the best wide receiver play on this slate. Moving back to Atlanta, Washington, I'm just going to summarize. I like Gibson. I like nobody else in this game. Cool with that?
Yeah, next game.
Next game, good. Any love for Atlanta's defense at 2,900? Grady Jarrett's there. AJ Terrell's back. Commanders at home, and I like Taylor Heineke's not good. So I mean, Falcons D 2,900 at 1% owned is a decent spot. I think when the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be 50% owned. So I do like Atlanta's defense in large field GPP.
I'm cool with that.
Cool. All right, moving on to my favorite game. Justin Herbert, going to be right around 8 to 10% owned. Ownership projections are showing. I think he's going to be higher. I think he's going to be 15 to 20% owned. Like every show, every radio station, every article I've seen in the industry is about Justin Herbert, and for good reason. He's, I think, the best quarterback play on this slate against Arizona. We've talked about Arizona's secondary every single week this year. Now they don't have their best corner in Byron Murphy. I think Isaiah Simmons now is playing nickel corner. That's a problem. So I love everything about this Chargers offense. Austin Eckler is probably my second favorite running play. Outside of Derrick Henry, I think I'd give Eckler a little bit of a nod over Nick Chubb. He's not going to be too popular. James Conner's in a fantastic spot against the Chargers run D. We know how much they struggle. I think this game just has so much stack appeal overall because there's no weather concerns. Both defenses kind of just suck right now. Keenan Allen is way too cheap on DraftKings. You play him in cash or you're playing Herbert in cash. You can play both in cash if you want. Josh Palmer's going to be popular. I mean, like we talked about earlier, Josh Palmer's prop opening up at 58.5 yards, I think, is a ton of respect from Vegas. Hollywood Brown's back. I like to think if he's playing, he's going to play, and I don't really care about a pitch count. I think that 5,300 for a guy of his upside is pretty sexy, and DeAndre Hopkins, probably one of my favorite wide receiver plays on the slate, like always on DraftKings, where it's full point PPR. That's just something I want to invest in, is that guaranteed value. And then Gerald Everett at 5% owned against Arizona secondary, who can't cover the tight end, I think is a fantastic spot too. So literally you could stack this game every way you want. Trey McBride ownership actually starting to tick up to 5 to 6% at 3,100. I think it's fine in a game stack environment. In single entry, and if you're not stacking this game, I would not choose Trey McBride as a one-off. I'd rather have Hayden Hurst at 3,300. I'd rather have Evan Ingram at 3,200. But yeah, I mean, what's not to like in this game? I will not be playing Kyler. I'm with Jason on that. I think Kyler is, I'm just done rostering him. He doesn't really run anymore. I'm not going to play him, especially coming off the hamstring injury. But Justin Herbert in this Chargers offense, throw the ball 40 times a game. I want a piece of that, and I want as much stackability as I can to it. So that is by far my favorite game. What are your thoughts on Herbie and the boys?
This was what I was alluding to earlier when I was talking about Joe Burrow. It's my number 2 stack. It's going to be Herbert with Palmer and Keenan, running it back with DeAndre Hopkins. I really have a strong intrigue for Hollywood Brown. If it burns me, it burns me. I'm only doing it in a large field anyway, so it's not like it's going to be – he's not in my main lineup, but he has big playability even in these limited snaps. And when he's out there, he's not going to be out there to block. He's not going to be out there to – you can't be a decoy for DeAndre Hopkins. Like there's no, I don't know if there's maybe like a handful of wide receivers that can be a decoy on the field when they're sharing it with DeAndre Hopkins, and Hollywood Brown is not one of them. So when he's out there, he's going to be running routes and he's going to be active. They're going to look to get him the football, and there's a ton of upside there, man, at 5,300 on DraftKings. So I'm playing a little bit of Hollywood Brown as well. He could get an absolute donut. So do not put him in your main lineup. This is one of those large field tournaments where there's a lot of people play the Millie Maker style tournaments, and there's 250,000 people in the tournament. Cool. That's the spot where I would play Hollywood Brown. I'm not playing Kyler. All in on the Chargers side of the football. DeAndre Hopkins is one of the only guys that I have exposure to on the Arizona side of things.
Yeah, he's a lock for me in the bring back position for this Charger stack, and I think that'll be very popular. I refuse to believe the ownership projection on Herbert is going to be under 10%. Makes no sense. But anybody else
everyone's going to Tua, if everyone's going to Tua, that would make me very happy, and I'd like to think that would make you very happy as well. If we're getting,
I think Herbie can run him down, no doubt.
Absolutely, 1 for 1. I would take Herbie over Tua this week, 100%.
Yeah, and you know where the targets are going. It's literally I guess Austin Eckler is a very active pass catcher.
That's the one thing that concerns me, man. I don't have Austin Eckler in those builds, and it is. Every time I stack Herbie and the boys, Austin Eckler gets like 7 touchdowns. So I'm not playing Eckler this week, so you guys should, because he's going to go wild. That's just the way it works every time.
I want to get some Eckler elsewhere. Burks and Hollins okay together. I think that's a little bit of
that's a low floor.
I know. It's a lot of downside, but it depends. I'm assuming the rest of your lineup is absolutely loaded with studs, and you probably – Gibson and Wilson. Maybe you paid up for another running back. Let us know what the rest of the lineup is. But I'm okay with Burks and Hounds. I really do have a lot of faith in Matt Collins today. It's a really good coverage for him against Seattle, in my opinion, and the models too. We'll move to that game. Las Vegas at Seattle again. Weather looks fine, potentially scattered showers and stuff like that, but nothing too crazy. I wouldn't worry about it. But again, that makes me love that Chargers-Arizona game that much more. So there's absolutely nothing you need to worry about. Devontae Adams is a smash play. We know that. Geno Smith is probably the second or third highest owned quarterback on the slate. He's your pay down in cash games at $6K on DraftKings. I'm fine if you want to use him. I chose Herbie. But yeah, Josh Jacobs, I believe, is supposed to play. I know he hurt his calf, I think, Thursday at practice, but it sounds like he's good to go. Kenneth Walker is probably one of the best running backs on the slate. 6,900 on DraftKings is way too cheap for him against this Las Vegas defense. He is going to be insanely popular. Great cash game play, but again, I think he's fine for tournaments because you know he is getting all of the red zone work for that team and starting to get a little more target in the passing game, so I do like that. DK Metcalf is probably my second favorite wide receiver on the slate overall. I love DK Metcalf today. I think this is, like I said, he's one of the few that got a massive boost to their baseline. When looking at coverage schemes, DK Metcalf should have a field day. So, Jay, change our line. Let's go Metcalf in the flex. I think Jay and I had a lineup where we were thinking either James Conner or DK Metcalf. Let's go with Metcalf. He's got the higher upside to get 30 points, which is what we want. But Devontae Adams at 10% ownership, I think, is a fantastic play. So whoever had that question earlier of the Seattle stack running it back with Devontae Adams, absolutely. And then, like I said, my favorite punt wide receiver in the 4K range, when everybody's going to play Garrett Wilson or Traylon Burks, I like Matt Collins a lot here too at 4,400. But that's pretty much it. I have no interest in any of these tight ends. I guess you could play Foster Moreau. He's got a good price. He's always going to have some ownership. But Ghost, what are you thinking about the Las Vegas-Seattle potential shootout? Because both these defenses suck.
I really want to stack this game. I thought it would be my number one stack heading into the week. It fell to number 3. I am playing DK Metcalf in a lot of places. I'm playing him in cash also. I really, really like this game a lot. Devontae Adams is an interesting pay-up option. I'd just rather play Derrick Henry. In other words, the sky is blue and grass is green, but I'd just rather play Derrick Henry or Devontae Adams. So this game, it was more of a pivot question. Like Keenan Allen is right there in that DK Metcalf range, and it's just other games that I like more made it difficult for me to get, secondary pieces to the other games that I like by stacking Seattle and Vegas. But it's an interesting stack. Geno has a lot of upside in this matchup. So does Kenneth Walker. I like DK Metcalf over Lockett, but you should just always, whenever you make a Seattle stack,
do the same lineup.
You duplicate the lineup and just swap them one for one, because one of them's going 3 for 35 and the other one's going 10 for 204 touchdowns, it seems like, every single week. So that's just what it is. So make sure you're duping that lineup and, swapping them one for one. But yeah, this is like one of the stocks where I don't want to say I don't mind. It's kind of underselling it, but I really like the quarterback, running back, wide receiver one stack with Kenneth Walker. I think he's got great potential in this game. Running it back with Devontae Adams is pretty big. You can even double stack this on the way back with Matt Collins. Foster Moreau in these stocks, a little bit too low of a floor for me. I'd rather go to Hayden Hurst, but it's almost like one of those situations where it's like, hey, if that's your secondary piece for a run back, cool. Just one for one, I'll take Hayden Hurst. But that Foster Moreau cannot be your main run back. Like, you need to be playing Devontae Adams. Yeah, you need to play Devontae Adams in these Seattle stocks. But yeah, I think this game could go wild. I think the total can flirt with 60 plus points in this one. So I do have some, especially in 3 max contests. That's where I have a lot of Seattle Vegas. I went 1 Burrow, 1 Herbie, 1 Geno Smith.
Love it. Yeah, I think those are great games to get exposure to. We will move to KC. Oh man, the Rams. Bryce Perkins are starting. I'm out on this game. I think the only guy that I like is Isaiah Pacheco. I mean, you could throw a dart on Sky Moore at 3K or Justin Watson at 3K, but this game is going to be a disaster. So I'm just out in general. But if you want to stack up Patrick Mahomes, that whole offense is going to be 5% out. So you could do that. Chiefs D is going to be like 50 to 60% owned in single entry contests at 2,800. But against the Rams, I don't see how the Rams do anything against them. I mean, they have to give Cam Akers and Kyron Williams like 20 plus touches and try to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands. But that's not going to work out too well. But do you have any love for Cam Akers and Kyron Williams at 0% ownership at 4,900? Like, that's an interesting pivot play, but I'm out.
Kyron, yes. I was saying that I was waiting for the week, and this is the week that I would play him. Other weeks, I don't know. A lot of people, like, the moment he was activated, people were like, I want to play Kyron Williams. Then it was the week after that, I want to play Kyron Williams. We kept saying no. And I would say that I would be a strong advocate when it was time. This is the week that I would play Kyron Williams. Yeah,
I mean, the Chiefs give up, I believe, the second most receptions to opposing running backs, and it looks like Kyron is their pass-catching guy. But other than that, we're skipping that game.
When Cam Akers goes 7 carries for 10 yards, it's going to be Kyron Williams catching football. The only thing that I will say is that Perkins has, like, I'll throw the guy a bone and say that he has a huge rushing upside. just know that he uses his legs. So the whole thing where it's like check down, it's not, he's not stone feet back there. Like he won't hesitate to run it himself. That's the one thing. So like temper expectations with Kyron Williams. It's not like he's gonna go out there and play that Christian McCaffrey role and catch 15 footballs. Like Perkins can run the ball himself. So it's the one thing. I don't have any Rams players really in my player pool all that much. If you want to play Kyron, this would be the week to do it. And I'm playing a lot of Isaiah Pacheco, man. 16-point home favorite.
Yeah,
I get it. They can't have him all that banged up with CEH out for the next 4 weeks. If I feel like KC walks into their coach's room and says, like, if we lost every single running back on this roster, we wouldn't care. Like, you have Patrick Mahomes. And in the worst event of things, of that, knock on wood, if every single one of their running backs is out, the worst case scenario is that you have Patrick Mahomes throwing the football 50 times. And that's not even a bad scenario at all. Like, that's, if anything, you would put more points up on the board. So to me, it's just, I think they're going to use him just enough. Are they going to give him 30 carries? No, but a 16-point home favorite, I don't see how this guy doesn't get in the box and get at least, like, I want to say on the conservative side, 70 yards on the conservative side. And that's 3x for me. That would be a floor case scenario. That's a floor scenario. At 5,500, we're talking about a lot Murray. We're talking about Rashad White. We're talking about Jeff Wilson is just in the category of his own when it comes to those guys. But we're talking about guys like P. Ryan. Like, for me, Isaiah Pacheco being that odd man out, similar to what we were talking about a lot Murray, Isaiah Pacheco should not be the odd man out there. He's a 16-point home favorite. And I get it. He's got to run it up the gut with Aaron Donald staring right in his grill. But, like, it's what it is. The guy can catch balls too. Like, he's a really good player. I like Isaiah Pacheco. So I'm playing him in a lot of spots at 5,500. If you're playing KC defense at 60% rostership, which to me is just, I'm not doing it in large field. That's a spot where, to me, DST, I'm not playing chalk defenses. But if you are, you should be even more enticed to play as Isaiah Pacheco, because if KC defense is not allowing points, they're going to run the football even more. Who else is going to run the football? You're not going to give Jerick McKinnon 30 touches here, guys. Like, Isaiah Pacheco is going to run the ball. I'm down for that. I want to see that. I want to see a volume Isaiah Pacheco game. 5,500 on DK.
I think they're only going to have 2 running backs active. So, yeah, he's going to go. Or maybe Ronald Jones. We see Ronald Jones today?
Oh, please. No. Don't do that to me.
I know, he'll be Pacheco, but I get it.
Don't do that to me.
All right, last game. New Orleans at San Francisco. I mean, you could certainly play Jimmy Garoppolo, 5,600. There are so many weapons in this offense. It sounds like Debo should be good to go. Obviously, no Kittle is always in a good spot. Ayuk seems to be the red zone option of choice. Christian McCaffrey can always break the slate. I just hate that they're splitting so much time with Eli Mitchell. But for the whole beginning of that last game, it was all McCaffrey. The dude's going to get 5 or 6 catches. So the floor of Christian McCaffrey is second to nobody. Does this game become like a late night sneaky hammer that ruins all GPPs? Because I've certainly thought about it. Chris Olave at 2% ownership is in a really good spot too, and a probably negative game script for the run game for New Orleans. Should get Olave very active, and these San Francisco corners are rather beatable. I don't know. I just chose not this game. I'm in on the Chargers in Arizona, but I certainly think this game has sneaky upside in GPPs. Do you have any love for it? Otherwise, we can move on and recap the slate.
Yeah, hear me 2 seconds before we do that. Where I played this game is in the late slate, because I have, like, we'll just make one thing clear. I'm not saying this game is better than Chargers Arizona. Both of us like that game the most. For me, it's Bengals number 1 is my main stack, Chargers number 2, Seattle number 3. That's my 3 max in that order. Where I played this, in order to hedge that, in a sense, I played San Fran, New Orleans in the late slate, because everybody in the late slate is going to, they're going to flock to the Chargers Arizona even more. And then on that late slate is also Vegas and Seattle. So if that game absolutely goes wild, I don't want to risk it for the main, because I don't want all of that noon game variance in there, or 1 p.m. game variance, or whatever other time zone that I didn't cover. I don't want the early game variance in there. I want the late game only. And at that point, it's, can that game outscore the other 2? And if the Chargers game goes wild, cool. That's all my primary builds are Chargers, Arizona, Bengals, and Tennessee, and Seattle, Vegas. And if that game goes absolutely nuts, it's a late slate. We're talking tournament takedowns here. We're not talking about like, oh, we're flirting with first. No. Like if it's outperforming on a 3-game slate, if it's outperforming the other 2 games that I have exposure to in my main lineups, you're walking into tournament takedown. So that's where I'm playing this game, because this game is just the all-purpose gods are in this game. Alvin Kamara, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey. Like we're talking about offensive playmakers that, in terms of all-purpose yards, I don't know if there's guys that are better in the league at doing it than those 3 guys. Maybe Austin Eckler, you could throw him into that category, but like comes to McCaffrey, Deebo, like there's a lot of upside in this game. Juwan Johnson is quietly the tight end 2 since week 4 in fantasy football.
He's a stud.
You guys a stud. You've been talking about him so on countless occasions on our shows. Juwan Johnson is the tight end number 2 in fantasy football because Travis Kelce is just on his own planet. So he is pretty much the number 1 tight end in fantasy football right now. So for me, there's a lot of appeal in this game. Where I'm getting exposure to it is in the afternoon slate, because it only has to outperform 2 other games that I'm already playing in my main lineups. That's where I'm doing it.
I think that's a great point. That's a great way to kind of hedge yourself out there. I like that. Let's recap. Cash game quarterback, GPP quarterback. I'm going to go Herbie Cash, Lamar, GPP.
I'm going Herbert Cash, Burrow, and Herbert in GPP.
Rock on. Running backs. For me, it's going to be Jeff Wilson, Rachaad White locked in. Both of them probably across the universe, but GPP, I mean, I'm locking in Wilson everywhere. Running back for GPP, Derrick Henry.
Damn. Can I just say retweet?
You can say Pacheco. That's your boy.
Can I just say retweet? Yeah, so Cash, I'm going the same double running back as you, Rachaad White and Jeff Wilson. Tournaments, Derrick Henry at the top of the pricing grid is one of my guys this week. Kenneth Walker is an interesting way to get exposure to that Seattle-Vegas game. I do like him. And at the, I guess I could say the bottom of the pricing grid with all those chalk running backs, Isaiah Pacheco in tournaments is going to be my guy.
Love it. All right, wide receiver. Cash, I'm going to go Treylon Burks and DeAndre Hopkins for upside. GPPs, I'm going to go my cheap guy of Mac Hollins. I love Devontae Adams too. Let's go DK Metcalf.
Yeah, I'm on all the same guys. Cash, I'm going DeAndre Hopkins. You said Treylon Burks?
Yeah, that's my cheap cash guy. Yeah.
Okay. I'm not playing a cheap wide receiver in cash. I'm going Keenan Allen is my mid-range guy.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, Keenan's fantastic.
Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins and Keenan will be my duo there. And in tournaments, I am playing T. Higgins is my guy.
Down with that.
Yeah, that's he deserves his own mention. I'm just mentioning T. Higgins. That's it. Because you mentioned all the other guys. T. Higgins deserves his own category this week.
Sweet. All right. Tight end, Mark Andrews. And then Gerald Everett, I guess, but Mark Andrews.
Juwan Johnson, Hayden Hurst.
Nice. All right. Defense, cash games, you're playing the Chiefs or the Jets. I think there's no other way around it. In tournaments, I'm still probably playing the Chiefs because I will play Matt Collins and Gerald Everett like together, and they are both sub 5%. Oh, man, I don't know. Maybe you could play the Browns as leverage off of Rachaad White if you'd rather go Jeff Wilson and Pacheco as your RB duo. I think that's pretty sexy, and just play the Browns D to get a lot of sacks on Tom Brady. So, I don't know. Browns D.
I'm going KC and cash. A defense that intrigues me in tournaments, Carolina.
Okay.
Atlanta.
I like Atlanta too, yeah.
And I would want to play Miami, man, but they're just way too expensive. I can't pay nearly $4,000 for DSD on DraftKings. I can't do it. If you could afford it on FanDuel, cool. All the power to you. But I don't like paying up for DSD. So I'm going Atlanta and Carolina off the KC chalk. But yeah, if you want to play Kansas City, go for it.
Yeah, there you go. James Robinson, healthy scratch. So it's Michael Carter season all day long. Yeah, I'm probably just
especially with check down Charlie at quarterback there. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean Ty Johnson's going to play too. I'm just kind of out on that game in general, but yeah, Michael Carter, really good price there. Other than that, I'm good to go. If you guys got any questions, fire them up. Other than that, Raiders my punt defense. Ooh, Raiders defenses. They're walking wounded right now. But Ghost, good luck. Good luck to everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Hit that like button. Greatly appreciate you all. And happy Thanksgiving weekend to everybody. And let's finish strong. I know Thursday was a fantastic slate for the Win Daily Discord. So let's bring it back again. Just remember, get a little different. There's so much condensed chalk out there. So find a way to get off a little bit of it. And good luck. We'll talk to you guys in Discord.